So, welcome to the Fusing the Unfusable podcast. Today we have a special guest. His name is Alaa Dalghan. He is a seasoned technologist that has a master's degree from the American University of Beirut in computers and communication engineering. And he's been here in the region for about 18 years, working, helping businesses understand and implement technology. Welcome, Alaa. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Karim. Always good to see you.
Full disclosure, we are friends and we have a couple of passions in common, right?
100%.
Whiskey and technology.
Each of them requires its own podcast. I can talk to you for hours about any of those.
One of the ones that I'm hoping we can talk about today is your Web3 project that you were working on for whiskey.
Yes.
Maybe you can tell us about that.
Well, it's the idea is fractional investment in whiskey casks using NFTs. Obviously, the angle of investment using NFTs is not new, and NFTs is an excellent instrument to fractionalize all sorts of assets. We're seeing them from real-world assets to real estate to bonds and different kinds of funds. On the other side, you have whiskey investment, and we're both big fans of whiskey, and we crossed from the world of just consuming bottles to actually investing in casks. And when we went to that world of investing in casks, my friends and I, we found that this is still a traditional old school investment club where you and your friends, you go and buy a cask. It's not expensive. A cask could range anywhere between £4,000 or £5,000 to £20,000, the accessible ones, and it's very easy to buy. And then you'd keep it at the distillery, and you'll pay for storage and maintenance, and then you liquidate after 5 years, 7 years, whatever your time horizon is. What I wanted to do is take this from an investment of £5,000-6,000, where 1 to 5 people would invest, to investing, bringing hundreds of people, thousands of people to invest. Yeah. So the idea is buying a set of casks that we hand select, being, I wouldn't say connoisseurs, but advanced amateurs and lovers of whiskey.
Enthusiasts.
Yes, enthusiasts. And then breaking them down virtually, each, let's say, cask of 200 liters, we will divide it into 200 fractions, and each fraction will be represented by an NFT. And then we would offer these for selling, for trading, and for redemption. So you could, on your wallet, you could have a portfolio. You could say, from this first cask, which is an Aran 5-year-old cask, I want to buy 5 NFTs that represent 5 fractions out of 200. From the second cask, I will buy 3. From the third cask, I will buy 7. So you could build a portfolio of fractional investment in casks. And then you could do a couple of things with them. You could say, I just want to trade them on the internal trading platform of the community, or I want to sell them outside on any of those NFT marketplaces. At the end of the day, they are just NFTs. And you could say, I want to hold to maturity and liquidate when the project liquidates. Or you could say, I want to redeem at a special occasion. For example, my kid turning 18, my daughter graduating, my 20th anniversary, my father's 60th birthday. And in this case, you would redeem it for a beautifully designed bottle with a beautifully designed piece of art created by an artist that we would partner with, and you will have your own one-of-one very special bottle.
You know what I love? I love what this technology, Web3 technology and NFTs is going to do for us. And unfortunately, a lot of people assume NFTs is just digital art. And every time I try to explain to them a use case about NFTs, I say NFT is just a digital asset
100%.
That's locked in a box that only the person with the private keys has access to.
Absolutely.
Once we understand that, once people understand that, they start to dream up and think of all these use cases these beautiful use cases. But specifically, what I like about this project, and when you mentioned it to me, I don't know how long it's been now, 3-4 months ago, is that normally NFTs and a lot of these NFTs have lost their value because of the lack of scarcity. Just easy to duplicate. But in the case of whiskey, a cask, it's really limited, right?
Yeah. It's actually one of 200 liters, which is around one of 200 bottles of whiskey per cask. So you're owning a piece of something real. It's just that the medium of exchange is the NFT, is the digital. And you're spot on in the way you explain it to people. NFTs is not the art or the profile picture or the Bored Ape. Or NFTs is a technology that allows us to create a digital certificate. It's a certificate of ownership, it's a certificate of authenticity, it's a certificate of provenance. Authenticity of what? Provenance of what? Ownership of what? Unleash your imagination.
So let me ask you this on this project. So thinking a little bit deeper into it and the implementation, how does one manage the storage fees, for example?
Well, that's the traditional part of the business. You would deal either directly with the distillery or with an agent who own casks or resell casks on behalf of the distillery. And when you subscribe to or invest in a cask, whether you're doing it the traditional way with cash or you gotta do it in our way with the NFTs, you're getting the entire services as one bundle, which is owning the cask, the taxes related to it, the storage and the maintenance by the distillery, and all of this is in one bundle. What we're adding to it for convenience is the cost of bottling at the end, because usually cost of bottling is not offered to you by these distilleries or the agents. And in all cases, even if it were offered, we don't want traditional bottles. We want handmade bottles that are in themselves pieces of art, with labels that are actually in their own NFT arts by local artists. We're gonna partner with multiple artists from Dubai, from Lebanon, from Scotland, from all over the world. So we're adding the cost of bottling and putting it all in one price and then dividing it into NFTs, and you'll still have an upside in your investment.
So I guess the storage would be then divided. So you would know the cost of storage. It's going to take this many years for the whiskey to achieve its maturity.
Yes.
And then that cost would be calculated back and put into the cost of the NFT.
100%. And we'll add the cost of bottling to it.
I love it. I love it. So this is something we need to at some point work on, bringing to life.
100%. Combining together technology and whiskey, I mean, two passions of ours. It's not going to be even a job. It's going to be a passion project.
So this is one of our passions, shared passions. The other one is digital transformation, right? And we've been doing it for years and years, right? Helping businesses automate and implement technology. You've been here in this region 18 years. What's the most exciting project you worked on in digital transformation?
Well, I help businesses and government entities transform their business with technology tools. So we don't start from the technology, we start from the business, right? I worked with the Dubai municipality on their transformation project to create a shared data platform across 32 systems that they have, and then create a customer 360 degrees view from all the records in this data to create a single source of truth, and then from it a customer 360 profile. I helped large family offices and large groups, private companies, to transform their business. One of them is Al Suwaidi Group, 3W. Another one is Isa Holding in Saudi Arabia. I consulted to Moro, which is a subsidiary of Digital Diwa, to create an IoT portal to sell and bundle Internet of Things bundles to their clients. These are some of the projects that I'm proud and passionate about.
IoT is really interesting. Actually, my mentor, Dr. Stefan Yango, who I worked for many years, basically believes that the moment for blockchain that it will, the tipping point for the moment for blockchain will be when IoT really takes hold, because when you have billions of devices, because of their price, these sensors that are all over the place in agriculture, sensors everywhere, medical sensors and all this, the only way to control them is blockchain technology. So this is something that stayed at the back of my head, even though we don't see these use cases right now. It feels like it's going to happen very soon.
I mean, you're spot on and he's spot on, because one of the most interesting nascent subcategory in blockchain and Web3 is currently DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure. That's for our audience. And DePIN brings together the world of Internet of Things and physical infrastructure and the world of blockchain. Because blockchain solves a real problem with these decentralized physical infrastructure, which is the problem of good incentives and creating good incentives for people to act properly and collaborate using monetary incentive. Take an example. If you want to build IoT network coverage, but instead of one provider like a telco or a non-telco, you have the community, each one of them putting an IoT antenna on the roof of their house, right? Like a LoRaWAN antenna. I'm thinking of projects like Helium, for example, who's already successful in the LoRaWAN in Europe and in CBRS in the United States. So the idea here is each one who wants to contribute to the network will buy an IoT antenna and put it on the top of their house. And now you're providing coverage for people to connect their sensor to your IoT network.
One of my favorite use cases that I read about is the mesh network in the outback in Australia, where these are really remote, let's say, communities where the poles themselves are an IoT device, and when one pole is about to fall because it's got damaged by lightning or there was an accident and it starts to tip over, it messages the network, alerts them to send somebody to replace it, and at the same time, because it's a mesh network and these poles can communicate with each other, automatically the system allows the electricity to flow through another pole.
Brilliant.
And then there's other use cases with solar panels, right? Where each house has a solar panel. If that house doesn't use that energy, how can one house buy energy off a mesh network, using blockchain?
Yeah.
Using blockchain. So there's so many exciting use cases that I'd love to see, come to life. And it's not just about cryptocurrency, right? Because we often get into the space because of our love or appreciation for the Bitcoin, right? And Satoshi and what he did. And by the way, it was Pizza Day yesterday.
Yes.
So it's really important, I think, to bring that level of awareness to the community that there's so many other things that we can do, we need to do with blockchain.
100%. As we entered this industry because we were excited about disrupting the monetary system and the money system and the banking and finance system. But as the use cases started to build, we discovered that blockchain and Web3 ecosystem is excellent to facilitate and to disrupt other industries. I mean, just the example you were talking about, which is net metering, right? A household or a factory is producing excess power than it needs, so you can sell back to the grid. And now, instead of just selling back to the grid, imagine selling back to any potential buyer who needs extra power at the peak time of their consumption. How can you do that? You can either centralize it, like the traditional net metering systems and smart grid in Germany, in Europe, in anywhere. Or you can democratize it by saying, okay, here's a platform where you have anyone can be a seller and anyone can be a buyer. And the what is being traded and bought and sold are units of energy, are watts that are denominated in that particular crypto of that particular blockchain. You get the security, you get the trust without the trust, and you get the free market. I mean, there's nothing freer than such a market where blockchain and crypto is the denominator of it.
It's amazing. We call them, there's various ways we call them. DLT, distributed ledger technology. I like the word trustless. And what's funny is I was listening to a famous historian complaining that we're a business that claims that we are about trust, and it's because of our distrust of legacy.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really funny that he played on that word, right? But it is really about building trust without having to trust
100%
person,
without knowledge.
and being able to do business with that level of confidence and security is yet non-existent, right?
Yeah.
Today. And I really look forward to see a world that starts to adopt that. So on that question, what do you think is still missing for really, a mini tipping point, let's say, for Web3 in the region here, since you've been here and you've been talking to businesses and governments?
Yeah, I think we need the regulatory framework to become more mature. I think we need the masses to be better educated and informed rather than just the small group of fans. And we need to demonstrate the economical use cases and the impacts on the real world rather than just the virtual world or the metaverse. I love the virtual applications. I love the metaverse applications. But I think if we can combine these three, which is real world application, especially on the digital economy, real world asset, deepen all of these with a lot of education, like you guys are starting to do here with this podcast, with this series of free education. We need more of those. In every language possible, in English, in Arabic, in other languages. And in the background, a more mature regulatory framework that offers clarity for entrepreneurs to build, for consumers to participate, for enterprises to participate without being afraid of breaking compliance. Then we will get to that tipping point. We're inching towards it slowly but surely. When will the watershed moment come? I don't know, but I'm as you excited to see it happen.
Yeah, we better fasten our seatbelts, because when it does take off, I think it's gonna be a rocket. There's a lot happening in that space, and I do agree that the future is regulated. I think a lot of us in the crypto community, in the blockchain community, love the freedom, love the fact that we don't need legacy systems, or we're trying to disrupt legacy systems. But in the end, regulation is required, because it's just a must.
Yes.
It's a must, and I think the sooner that most of the community accepts that, the better. And I think it's happening. I think the news is coming from the US that they're going to start to sign off on some legislation. We're still looking at what's being discussed. I'm not sure where it reached in Congress and if the president's going to sign off on it. But I think that we're moving towards that. Of course, the UAE has been a leader in building those regulatory frameworks in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and we're seeing that with a lot of companies setting up here. It's really exciting.
100%. I mean, you and I talked a lot about this. There are multiple subcultures in crypto. And one of them is, say, the anarchist culture, which is we want to destroy all the existing legacy system and replace them. But there's another culture or subculture under this big umbrella of crypto, which is we don't necessarily want to destroy everything that is. We want to make it better. Right? And the way to make it better is to look at the existing, finance systems and to use technology to bring them to the 21st century, right? To look at payments and money transfer and to use blockchain to bring them to the 21st century. To look at notary and asset ownerships and ledgers and to use blockchain to bring them to the 21st century. I think I belong to the camp that believes in the power of technology while regulated to transform legacy systems and legacy industries rather than, burn it all to the ground. We're going to live in this, anarcho society of the digital nomads. I understand that culture. I sympathize with it, but I belong clearly to the camp that says common sense regulation with a positive look towards transforming businesses, not, killing businesses.
I agree totally, and I think it's a much more sage or say wise view of the world, and realistic. And we can be in our community, very influenced by science fiction and fantasy, and but the real world has rules, and we live in a rules-based world. And that being said, I think that the speed at which change is happening here in the region is really based on the wisdom and the vision of the leadership here, and it's really amazing to see. I mean, I went to a couple of events recently, fintech, blockchain, and the attention that we're getting here in the UAE is amazing. I haven't looked at the data to see how many companies have set up here, but I think that hopefully there's going to be a foothold. I'd love to see more developers here. I'd love to see more engineers working here as well, not just setting up the companies, but really the builders start to move here. And I hope that the regulation, the visas, and the ability for them to have quality of life here is going to allow that to happen. Because right now, a lot of it is happening offshore in Eastern Europe, I think, and in Asia. So we need to work on that. That being said, if you were to, and this comes from Agile, right, is, from a digital transformation perspective, let's step out a little bit from Web3, which is really, it's a niche, but let's look at it from the broader aspect of basically using technology to improve governance, systems, companies, and quality of life and profitability, let's say. What have we in this region here, specific to this region, because this is where you and I work, and what have we done well? What can be done better? And what has not yet been done?
Well, we're still at the start of the road, and already a lot of things are being achieved. The beautiful thing about this country and the region in general is that technology and digital transformation is starting from the top level as part of the national strategy, right? You look at the national strategy of the UAE, the national strategy and vision of Saudi Arabia, and you see firmly that technology is an integral part of it. It's a core part of it. Technology, transformation. In particular, they talk about blockchain, they talk about AI, they talk about other disruptive technologies. So when you have the leadership that is already gets it and understands that the future of the economy of this region is not hydrocarbon, it's digital, it's technology, it's transformation, it's talent, then you know that you're in the right place. This is one thing that makes me excited every day when I get out of bed and go and work, because I know that the strategy of this region is driven by technology strategy being integral part to the economic development. This trickles down to everything. You know that this part of the world is government investment heavy. So when you have the government already allocating this much money for digital transformation, for technology, this trickles down to the big governmental and semi-governmental companies, and then trickles down to all of us. This is apparent in at least two areas that you alluded to earlier. One is the regulatory environment, and two is the battle for talents. On the regulatory environment, on one hand, you don't want zero regulation, so it's wild west, and people can get hurt. But you also don't want the aggressive regulation that kills innovation, like what's happening in the EU, right? On one side, you want common sense regulation to protect people, but on the other side, you also want these regulations to be entrepreneur friendly and startup friendly. I think this balance is very delicate, and I think they're getting it right here in the UAE. And then you have the second angle, which is the talent. Yes, you are 100% correct that the next battle is a battle for talent. Who's going to attract the best talent, the best young talent to build these startups, to build these next unicorns, right? We're not at the level of Silicon Valley yet, but why not becoming Silicon Valley in the next 5 to 10 years? We have one of the most attractive cities in the world. We're living in Dubai, where crime rate is almost zero. This is a big plus to anyone who's coming from the US, from Europe, from anywhere in the world, right? You can live here and work here knowing that you are 100% safe. And then the government is rooting for your success and rooting for your startup and doing as much as it can to help you succeed. You're surrounded by like-minded people who are here just to succeed and just to build and just to make it. The ambience is electric. The entrepreneurship is all around you. It's contagious.
It's highly competitive. It's highly competitive, and sometimes it does get to you, right? It can be stressful. What would you say, in your interaction with, in the end, digital is about technology, but it's really about changing the way people behave, right? And what would you say is the biggest challenge that you faced with these government entities, with these big businesses that you've worked with, in terms of convincing them of the need to transform?
Yeah.
You have a story around, one, that you could share with us about how you've overcome some of these challenges?
Oh yeah, multiple stories. So every time we talk to a leader in an organization about transformation, we always make sure that we're aligned, that digital transformation is not a technology story. It's a business story. It's how to transform your business using technology tools, right? So the transformational journey starts by process transformation, technology transformation, and people transformation. And all these three pillars complement each other. You can't update your tech systems or introduce IoT or introduce blockchain or you introduce data or AI systems when your processes are still archaic. So you need to transform your processes first, to modernize them, to remove the bureaucracy out of them, to increase control while decreasing unnecessary step, right? Or as Elon Musk puts it in the Musk algorithm, look at every process and make each step less stupid, right? Then you have the second pillar, which is technology, how we can digitize what we already systemized, okay? And these two, I find, are the easy two pillars. The third pillar, which is the people transformation, is always the most challenging part. And that's due to people, me, you, all the people we know in our entourage, in our clients, in our family. People love their comfort zone. They're comfortable where they are. They're comfortable where they've been doing things for the past 10 years or 20 years. Getting them out of their comfort zone is not an easy walk in the park.
You would laugh if I told you that some of the hardest projects I worked with were with engineers who were tech savvy, but were so attached to their Excel, I couldn't get them to use the platform, the data platform. But I overcome it in the end, because in the end it was driven by the customer. The customer wanted their data on the platform, not in Excel sheets, in macros, in folders. And I think sometimes it's hard. Our projects are sometimes hard, and
yes.
We shouldn't underestimate that. And change management and adoption is a key part of any implementation. And it's a subject that I'm very passionate about, and I've worked in, as I'm sure you faced it, and everyone does. It's just sometimes we don't call it that. It's just part of the job, right?
Part of the job, yeah. But it's spot on to say that if the customer, the C-level leader, wants this change, then you have this mandate to execute the change management of the people, the third pillar in the digital transformation journey. But the top-down on its own, I found with time that is not enough. Okay, you can't only use the stick approach. You have to use a combination of we're linking the digitization of your department and the KPIs to the level of digitization, but also we're giving you incentives, but also we're making you part of this transformation journey. I found that if you simply involve people in this journey rather than coming top down, if you talk to every department and tell them from day one that we have this plan to transform the business, and then send them an internal update, a memo every week or every few weeks saying, guys, we are now at this stage or that stage or that stage, they feel involved. If you actually sit with them and take their opinions with their managers, but more importantly without their managers, and take some of their ideas and integrate it in your digital transformation journey. If you take their opinion on what platform to use, okay, even if you don't end up choosing it because their boss found it more expensive, but at least talk to them, take your opinion, involve them. People love being involved, and resistance become much less, not zero, but much less when you involve them.
I love that topic, and I think grassroots, working from the grassroots, bottom up, right, and top down. You're right. It has to be a combination. Yeah. And one of the big projects I worked on, it was hard for the leadership to understand that the stick wasn't enough, and that you had to actually give the stakeholders ownership. So once they owned it, they treated it differently. They looked at it differently. They start to be proud of the change. And that's a magical moment, I think, in any project. Because in the beginning, people tend to be cynical, especially because of the numbers are really quite hard, right? For us, 80%, I think, is a number that I saw recently on Gartner, and I think it hasn't changed that much. 80% of projects are canceled or restarted within a year. Yeah. In digital transformation. Yeah. So it is hard to succeed, but having change champions and giving people ownership, I think, is the key to get them involved. And then what you were describing earlier, I like to call it managing expectations or hand-holding. When you're walking with someone through a new path, and they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know when there's going to be a bridge. They don't know when there's going to be a change of terrain. It's very hard. But if you tell them, listen, we're walking up, there's going to be a bridge. It looks scary. Don't worry. I'm here with you. We're going to cross it. It's going to take this much time. It's a completely different experience. Yeah. And I think, this, user experience, when you were talking earlier about 360 view, right? And we talk about design thinking and how we design customer experiences. It's really important to do the same on the inside, right? So the user experience of the business, the user experience of the employees, it becomes a very, very important part that a lot of people tend to kind of neglect. If we get that right, magic happens, right?
And we shouldn't neglect it, because there's a beautiful story to tell there. And every time I'm involved in a project like this, as I mentioned, we do this combination of top down and bottom up. And the bottom up part is also talking to the people that will be using the new system every day. So first of all, we tell them where we're going. We tell them, okay, this is today, this is where we're going, and we paint a picture to them where their day-to-day task they're less time consuming, they make more sense, they're less repetitive, it gives them more visibility across the entire end-to-end workflow. And you actually sit with them and say, okay, show me, what are you doing? You're updating this Excel sheet manually multiple times per day. Imagine just updating it once and then freeing up your time to make better decisions, to work on this or that or that. Then you get their...
you get their buy-in, but the elephant in the room is actually a lot of times is fear for their job, right? Yeah. So they're worried about being kind of worked out of a job because of technology. So that's a different discussion, a different challenge, but there are ways to overcome it. I think having people involved in the decision making and showing them the opportunities that these technologies will have is something that I find very exciting.
Very true. So there are two angles to this. On one side, yes, there's always the fear of technology is gonna take over my job or make me jobless. A lot of times, this is over exaggerated. It's not true. Technology, for most cases, helps with your daily work and frees you up to do more high-level work, more intellectual work than the just administrative work. But the truth be told, there are examples and scenarios where, yes, technology will cancel some jobs. And to be honest, these will be jobs that should be cancelled at some point or other in the development of our economy, of our humanity. We could learn from the past, right? When Henry Ford invented the car and commercialized it, the first people to lose their job are those who fix horseshoes, right? But new jobs were created, mechanics and tire builders, right? When Edison created and commercialized the lamp, the electric lamp. The first people to lose their job are those who refill the oil lamps in the streets every day. But new jobs were created, which is electrical jobs. Historically, every new technology that came, people were afraid that, oh, this is going to create joblessness. Actually, every single time, the net was always more job created by new technology than job lost. So the net is almost always positive. This time will not be different with digital transformation or with AI. The trick is, or the problem or the issue is the transitional period. Because in the transitional period, you will have some people who are able and willing to reskill and upskill and unskill and upskill, and these people will be fine. But you will have some people who are, for age reasons or for personality reasons, unwilling or unable to upskill or reskill for the new world. And these people, you cannot leave them to just, by the wayside. You have to take care of them until the next generation actually reskills. Whether you do this through UBI or to do it through other programs, I don't have all the answers.
Maybe that will be the topic for another conversation. Alaa, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank
you for
having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
I can talk to you for hours, Kareem.
Thank you.